Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back to the show. It is exactly 12 after 8 on this Mubarak Wednesday morning, the 19th of January, 2022. And we'd like to say that you're going to be hearing it first on Salaamedia, Alhamdulillah, as we chat to Nadeem Mohamed, the attorney that is representing the Tulsi twins. So, what is the update as far as they are concerned? They've been incarcerated more than 5 years ago, and we're going to try and dig into the story during the interview with attorney Nadeem Mohamed. Now, we are also being advised by their attorney that the brothers want their story to be heard and are not opposed to the court proceedings being broadcast live in South Africa and across the world. They were arrested during raids in Azadville and New Clare in Johannesburg in July 2016 after being accused of planning attacks on Jewish and American interests in South Africa. Let's try and unpack that during the course of this interview. Nadeem Mohamed, Salaamu Alaikum, welcome to the program and shukran for your time.
Julie, walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you on the show. And, let me say right up front that good on the twins and whoever has advised them to let their story be heard, let it be open to allow the media into the courtroom. It probably was you. You probably played a part in this decision being made. And I think it is absolutely the right decision. Once their story goes out internationally via the media, perhaps justice will be served for these two young boys.
Inshallah, Rahman. Julie, there is a team, obviously, that's working on the matter with the Tulsis. Obviously, I have counsel in the matter as well. There is also certain senior counsel from the MLA and outside of the MLA that we often take guidance from. But more importantly, as you heard the interview with Ponty yesterday that I had with him, it came directly from the boys. You know, the boys sat with us on that Monday and said, guys, we don't have an issue with the media. They had discussion between the two of them, and it's something that they do often. They often make sure with each other, which is something I really love about them. They are so committed and dependent on each other, and they say that they want their story to be heard, exactly as I put it, and they don't have an issue with it. Obviously, we just wanted two things. One, we wanted process to be followed because, I mean, literally, there were cameras in the court when we arrived, and there was absolutely no communication with us whatsoever. There was no application before the court. It was a willy-nilly, come as you may type of structure, which we weren't happy with. Remember, at the end of the day, one thing that we've always said and we've always been committed to from the get-go of this matter is that every right matters. It doesn't matter how small the right is. Just because you think that this is a high-profile, serious case, it doesn't mean that you can forego the procedures that are required in accordance with the legal system. So that is really what we're trying to aim at. And eventually, we committed the media. There is certain conditions that we have to put in place, which we're then going to submit to the judge before the next hearing on the 26th of January, and inshallah, those will be adhered to by the media.
Okay, so Nadeem, the trial was supposed to have started obviously in this month, possibly yesterday, but you guys only received the case files containing the information in April. Sorry, it was meant to have started last year in January, and then right. So you guys only received the case files a couple of months later. And then also after reading the transcripts, you realize that there was substantial further information that you needed from, I presume, the prosecution team, because They relied on the information of undercover agents, operatives, moles. Oh my God, this sounds like a spy drama. Okay. Moles, US
Yeah.
government officials, Kenyan officials, Israeli officials, UK and French officials. And after I read this, I was actually horrified. So it almost seems, I think the whole of the Ummah is behind these youngsters, but it almost seems like there's a very strong case that has been built up against these youngsters. And I kind of wonder how much of it might even be fabricated or misinterpreted or misread. And that is why the prosecution is supposedly sitting with a pretty strong case against possibly two innocent young people who don't even understand half of what is going on around them.
Julie, so obviously because the matter is sub judice, it's very difficult to speak too much in terms of what the versions are or what the real merits of the case are. But what is easy to explain without prejudicing myself or the client's rights in this regard is that you, you, as the state, you've drafted and brought charges against boys in July of 2016 based on an affidavit of a certain individual who you say turned state witness. Months after the arrest, that individual retracts his statement and disappears.
Sure.
Before the trial is scheduled to start, there's no sign of him. The key witness in the state's case, upon which the charges were drafted, now leaves. He abandons the state. He disappears. He can't be found anywhere. The state then, midway through the years, decides that they're no longer utilizing the trap that was set to catch the twins or to bait the twins, because that's actually what a trap does. The trap sets out to bait people who, and what Section 252A says is that it's people who are likely to have committed the offense anyway. In essence, it cannot go further than providing an introduction into it. It can't be you take people who would never commit an offense of this nature whatsoever, you put them in a situation where they are effectively, in a sense, framed into committing an offense. Now, I'm not saying that they even committed an offense in this regard, but what I am saying is that that entire trap, if it was in fact utilized, and if in fact it was the evidence that they think they have in respect of the boys, even that has been withdrawn by the state. They no longer rely on the trap. And when we asked about the information from state agencies and the interviews with these alleged undercover operatives, and when we asked for the foreign agency evidence that they were effectively relying on, they said, we're not relying on any undercover operations anymore. We're not relying on foreign state agencies. And the response then is, then what do you have? If you've got no investigation evidence that you're going to utilize, if you've got no trap that you're going to utilize, you've got no Section 204 witness who is your key witness that you're going to utilize, not one of the undercover agents or witnesses from abroad are coming to testify, what do you have? And we pushed and pressed and pushed and pressed, and still nothing came. The most recent being in April, and we said, we're going to compel you to bring us this information. She responded to us saying, you're not allowed to. The court has barred you from bringing interlocutory applications. We said, right, we know. The SCA decision came and went. When the SCA decision came and went, the bar effectively ought to have been lifted. When we came to court on this week, on the 17th of January, we aimed to express this to the judge, that now that the ban is lifted, we wanted to raise the issue relating to Section 87 of the Criminal Procedure Act, and we want to compel them to provide us with these further particulars. The judge became incredibly irate, indicating that we were trying to again derail the matter and delay the system. Now, just let's think of this for a second. We pushed and pushed and pushed, and he became incredibly irate with us. He did not want us to delay the matter and to provide any further and give us any further postponement of the matter. But he wanted us to continue with the trial, knowing that we don't have the necessary information. And why I say, and what effectively happened was, our pressure effectively resulted in them saying, fine, we'll give them the information. We'll waive privilege and confidence and confidentiality, and we will provide them with every bit of evidence. The judge says, I don't care if it costs 2 million. The state must copy every single document, and you must waive privilege, and you must give them the privileged documents, and you must do it today. You've got 30 minutes to go and get the files. It took them an hour. They went and they got the files, and they came back, and they said, right, we're going to copy it. And this morning at 9 o'clock, we are copying that information at the state's office, and my associate is there busy overseeing that entire process. And we will have every shred of confidential information. But think about it. Today is the 19th of January, 2022. The trial was supposed to start, allegedly, on the 11th of January, 2021. How, a year ago, could we have commenced with the trial when the confidential information we were seeking already in October of 2020 is being given to us a year and 5 days later?
Sure. Okay. It's absolutely a crazy situation. As you were speaking and giving us the background of this, to me, a very one-sided situation. It's almost as if some sort of a political game is being played, and the Tutsi twins are being used as the pawns in this game. I'm wondering about their constitutional rights. Every South African citizen, have got. We're supposed to have the greatest constitution in the world. What about their constitutional rights that have been absolutely trampled on and totally ignored? And given what you've said to me up to now, should this case not have been thrown out of court once their supposed secret state witness has disappeared? Last but not least, where are all the human rights activists? Why are they not making a big noise about this case? I'm also thinking, from the last time I spoke to you, the Tutsi twins are now in their mid-20s. Am I correct?
Yeah,
Right.
they'll be 27 this year, inshallah.
Right. So they were they were 22 years old at the time when they were locked up. How much of wisdom, maturity, and world knowledge does a 22-year-old have to have supposedly planned to perpetrate these crimes? They are very. So these are all the questions that are going through my mind. So they were. It does seem to me that they were set up.
Yeah. So Julie, so one of the things, and this is an important thing, is that what the judge also said yesterday, and he gave this order, and the state disagrees that it was an order that was given, but it's in the transcript, and we'll get the transcript when we already requested it, and inshallah we'll get it, we'll present it to them. The court also said to the state, and these are his words, expunge. The word he used is expunge. Expunge every aspect of the docket that you do not intend to rely on. Expunge it. If you say you're not utilizing the 252 trap, expunge it. Any reference to operatives, undercover agents, moles, foreign agency assistants that you are not relying on, expunge it. Because do not present, because and this is what he says, I don't want the world to say we are not giving them a fair trial.
Right.
When that happens, if they expunge all these aspects in their docket, they are going to be left with maybe 20% of a file of what they currently have. And it's going to be astonishing to see what evidence they're even able to prove against, to present against Al-Qaeda. And they have to amend the charge sheet. This is what the court says. Amend the charge sheet. Once you have expunged the docket, amend the charge sheet. Now, the court wants this matter to go to trial on the 7th of February. That's less than a month away. If the court wants the matter to go to trial on the 7th of February, and we have to be presented with a new indictment, and we don't know when that's going to happen, on what basis can the trial commence? This is a constitutional issue. You talk of constitutional rights. This is a constitutional issue. You are placing the accused in a prejudicial situation and position just so that, I don't know, the world can see that justice is being seen to be done. It's not. It cannot be possibly justice. And that's the problem. And you ask about human rights activists, and there have been certain organizations that have been rallying for the boys. They have been, and we have put the issue of the twins before the African Commission during the last session in September. I was invited to the African Commission special sitting. Ordinary session in September. It was a 3-week session. We were there for the Israel observer status issue, and whilst we were there, we raised the issue of human rights for prisoners in Africa. Unfortunately, due to certain procedural issues, we weren't able to present the case at that sitting, and we'll have to do it at the next sitting. But you're 100% right. It's a human rights and constitutional related issue, and we don't know where that's going to take us, but inshallah, Almighty will provide, and that's where we rely always.
Amen. Just 1 or 2 points I'd like to make, and I'd like you to respond to it, but also shukran very much to you, Shamima Dolly Sali. She's sent us a message saying that the justice system is a disgrace, and her second message reads, the court should release the accused and not hold them in custody awaiting trial, especially considering all these facts and the lengthy delay whilst these twins were held in custody waiting for the state to get their act together. Obviously, Shamima comes from a legal background because she's making some very pertinent points there. Thank you indeed, Shamima, for participating. Would you like to respond to that, Nadeem, to Shamima's comments?
So I think she said that they must be released awaiting trial. Is that what she said?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the fundamental aspects of yesterday was what we said to the judge, or Monday rather, was that we said to the judge that we've effectively finalized the bail on new facts. We've also approached a certain senior counsel at this juncture because he's not been briefed. Formally, I won't release his name, but he is going to assist us with the presentation of the case on bail on new facts. We've also written to the previous judge in the matter, Judge Munama, who had dismissed the bail application against them, and we're bringing this bail on new facts, and we're going to say to the court that they ought to be released. At this juncture, it's uncertain if the case is going to commence on the 7th of February or not, even though Judge Mohamed has insisted that the matter continue on the 7th of February. With all these changes and all these substantial issues, it's impossible that the matter continues. And if the matter doesn't continue on the 7th of February, we'll be sitting here in the same position in May, June, or July, waiting for a trial date, or then getting a trial date because the matter is then possibly ready for trial. And that means that the boys have to sit for another 6 to 8 months just so that the state can get their house in order. That's unacceptable. So Shamima is 100% correct. They ought to be released, and we are going to push as hard as possible to have that done, inshallah.
Inshallah. Do ask that the case gets thrown out, or alternatively, the boys are released, found not guilty, knowing that there were some mischief makers trying to, just incarcerate them unnecessarily. When that happens, inshallah, when the guys eventually return home with their loved ones, are found not guilty, because that's our du'as for them, do they have room to sue the state for the years lost of their life, and for, what would the terminology be there? They've been imprisoned under... It escapes me, but I think you know where I'm going to with this question. 5 years in prison, they've lost 5 years of their lives. Can they sue the state for a waste of their lives? Or
I think you're referring to unlawful detention.
Unlawful detention. You've hit it on the head. That's right.
Yeah. So, Julie, it's a difficult one. so unlawful detention is more relates more to a situation where a person is arrested usually unlawfully, and then detained on this unlawful arrest or unlawful charge, where there is a procedural irregularity committed either by the prosecutor or the police or the magistrate or the judge. It's a difficult one, and it's something that we'll have to consider in serious detail. I mean, to bring an application of that nature, as you can imagine, what the damages claim would amount to. I mean, you literally lost your youth years effectively.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you were a youngster and you come out an adult, it's incredible. Naeem Gina on Radio Dream yesterday, when we were interviewed, made a comment that for a 55 or a 60-year-old, 5 years doesn't mean anything really, but for a 21-year-old, 5 to 6 years is a chunk of their lives. So you're right, you hit the nail on the head, and that's something that we must consider. Whether it is merited, to be honest, looking at it from a prima facie view, it would be difficult. We'd have to, and we've just finished drafting a summary of all the delays because we want to present it to the world, because there's been a lot of back and forth. I saw yesterday ENTA reported that the delays were now on the side of the defense, because we brought, and these were her words, application after application after application. Again, anything that we've done has been in accordance with the rights of the accused and to further and protect the rights of the accused. Under no circumstances do we want the accused sitting in jail wasting away. Anything that we've done is done with consultation with the boys, and is done to further and protect the rights and the interests. You cannot be forced to be brought to trial simply on the say-so of the state. And it's clear now. Had we gone to trial a year ago, had we gone to trial 2 years ago, on what basis would we be going to trial when the evidence that they intend to rely on is only being produced today?
Okay, we're going to have to wrap up there. Shamima Dalisali sent us another message via Facebook, and she says that suing the state and all stakeholders need to be seriously considered to set a precedent that these type of actions does not reoccur. And I can't agree with her more. I'm not a legal person. I have no legal knowledge at all, but really common sense does suggest that this is what needs to happen. In closing, Nadeem, what do you have to say to us? And one more thing I did need to ask was, look, these guys, the twins have been in prison for over 5 years. Are they being well taken care of? I'd like to also think and hope that they haven't lost time just sitting around. I'm hoping that they utilize the time by possibly studying or upskilling themselves in some way or the other.
Well, I can tell you, the word waste of time doesn't feature in the minds of the twins. They are incredible human beings. Their iman is incredible, subhanallah. Their minds are constantly challenged, constantly reading. They make dawah on a daily basis. They've reverted a few prisoners that I know of in prison. They give guidance to serious offenders, because remember, they're in maximum security prison. They are with the worst of the worst. And everybody, when we go and visit them in prison, the warden talks so highly of them. The state talks highly of them. The investigating officer speaks of their exceptional conduct in prison. They are phenomenal human beings. SubhanAllah, and inshallah, one day you'll meet them.
Inshallah.
You'll see what I'm talking about.
We look forward to that. We really and truly look forward to that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide you and the team that are working so tirelessly in getting the Tulsi boys their freedom and reunite them with their loved ones again. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of your efforts, your team's efforts, and guide you guys along the way. Always nice talking with you, and we will again be in touch as soon as we hear that the case goes to trial, inshallah.
I mean, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan for having me. Well, assalamu alaikum to your listeners.
That was attorney Nadeem Mohamed talking to us about, obviously, the update as far as the trial of the Tulsi twins are concerned. Thank you indeed to you, Shamima Dalisali, for your input on the interview this morning, and to the rest of you for staying tuned to this very, very important matter, and that is the incarceration of the Tulsi twins. They've been in jail for the past 5 years, and there seems to be some sort of shenanigans going on behind the scenes in terms of, them getting a fair trial and them getting a trial sooner rather than later, or rather that obviously they shouldn't be held in custody whilst the state gets their act together. It is exactly 8:38 a.m. This is News and Views right here on Salaamedia. Still to come on the show, we'll be talking to Dr. Tsepo Malloy about the issue on Lindiwe Sisulu's remarks at the judiciary and the constitution. Also on the show, Patrick Bond, a political economist, political ecologist, and scholar of social mobilization, to talk about the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. And Mika Shavala, podcaster and founder of the Swahili Nation and One Africa, is going to talk to us about the situation in Mali. We'll be rounding up by talking with Abed Karim about the situation in Ladysmith. I guess, I hope, I pray, inshallah, at this juncture, we'll be talking about mopping up operations rather than rescuing. And in a minute or two, we'll talk with Anjali Maestri, senior attorney at the Equal Education Law Center, about the publication of the matric results. 8:39 exactly, News and Views right here on Salaamedia.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, has said, he is not a believer